How's it going, Leo community? Soul Tigers here with a special story for this wonderful frequency. So, let's go ahead and talk about these key words as we start this introduction. So, the song lyrics, and I quote, back to life, back to reality, end quote, is something that I was picking up right away for this frequency. Don't let your imagination run to the shadow side, Leo. Practicing being mindful, having your presence in the moment of now. Trust me, Leo, this is never easy to call your energy back from places it has been dwelling for years. If you can practice this mindfulness, being present in the moment, watch the changes within your internal home happen, and watch and feel how that ripples into your external environment, Leo. And that is something that is going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. You're going to feel like you have this new charge of energy in life, and it's going to be like, holy crud, I don't need that much caffeine. I don't need that much of whatever you use to help pick yourself up. Hopefully it's not something of bad energy. For me, it's caffeine. But honestly, that is something that's amazing. It's like you're able to replenish your energy when you pull your energy back from, say, it's in the past, or maybe you have your energy thrown to the future, worried about things. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing that's out is there's a certain kind of knowledge that we're at odds ends with, and it has to do with willpower. Having the power to move forward, giving yourself that power, that permission to move forward in a more stable direction for yourself, in a more grounded type of way for yourself, in a more loving type of way for yourself. And Taurus energy has to do with sacral chakra. That's joy, that's passion, that's healthy relationships, and that's creativity. And on the other side, in the shadow side, more when this chakra is stuck, it's fear of change. So, and it's emotional instability. So it's basically being able to balance this energy out within ourselves. Something else that you're not seeing is having the confidence in taking this action, giving yourself the permission. Giving yourself permission, but not being hard on yourself. Let me show you that again with this moon energy. Moon energy is all about nurturing. It's also has to do with how we build our foundations, how we establish our foundations, our nurturing foundations around us. And sometimes from the people that we grew up around with, we weren't shown certain things because back then they weren't doing that. And something that I had mentioned, I think it was for Aries, is the term healing. We need to heal this, we need to heal that. That was not talked about like this 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. This is something that's new, kind of coming out for a lot of us older generations. And so this is being able to explore different ways to take care of yourself type of thing. And speaking of Cancerian energy and that nurturing energy, the foundations, guess who we have pop up that you don't want to see, that you're at odds ends with, is let go. And that's the thing about these foundations. Sometimes we get stuck on holding on to certain traditions that no longer serve us. And maybe there's something here that it's okay to let go. And I'm being shown the Cancerian Moonology card. I believe it's the full moon for Cancerian, and it says your loved ones are safe. Sometimes when we create change or we think about change, we fear how it's gonna affect others, whether these others are around us. And a lot of times we're afraid of how it's going to affect the views of these others too. So let's be mindful of that. It's definitely, let's be gentle with ourselves. It's time to be gentle with ourselves. It's time to nurture ourselves. It's time to take action. It's time to have the willpower. And it's time to look at things from a different perspective. Instead of looking at everything from being on your head and being upside down, let's stand right side up and let's look at things a little bit differently. Those are the images that I'm being shown. So let's go ahead and continue into the presence now with our ancestors and spirit guides. So it's still really, really early in the morning. So I'm hoping that this will all light up really nice as the story goes on. So don't worry about all that darkness there. It should start to come through with the trees and stuff. So let's continue. Ancestors and spirit guides, what is it that needs to come out for the Leo community? I'm hearing that's enough. Whoa. Alright, so first thing that caught my eye was the Page of Swords. Page of Swords. Then we have the Three of Swords. We also have the Four of Pentacles. Definitely something feels like it's out of your control. There's something here where the truth has been held back about some things. And this could be something that's weighing really heavy on your mind. Oh my goodness gracious. You know what? When I was dialing in and cleansing your cards and I split the deck, I looked and guess who I seen right away? The Devil card. Devil card is represented by Capricorn. It's also represented by Saturn, which is Capricorn's planet. And fun fact, it used to be Aquarius's planet before Uranus was discovered. So getting back to this, with this Devil card and Saturn energy, it talks about the things that we hold on to for security. And it could be even old ways of thinking, those attachments that are tethered to us that drag us down type of thing. But also Saturn talks about fear of change. So there's something here that you run from your emotions about, that you climb cliffs to get away from how you feel in a sense. And that's a Capricorn right there. Capricorns are very reserved when it comes to expressing how they feel. They're kind of like the Cancerian, but the Cancerian is a little bit better at hiding how they feel and putting up with so much. Interesting fact about those two signs right there with Capricorn and Cancer is they're the two most loyalist signs out of all 12 signs. And that's not saying everybody else is a cheater, nobody else is loyal. No, these ones are so loyal that it could be their undoing sometimes. Whereas you, Leo, will finally get pushed to a point where you're like, okay, I'm done, I can't do this. These ones will hang on for longer. So right here, both with Capricorn energy and with the Cancerian energy and this Devil card, you've definitely have been loyal to a certain knowledge that you have, a certain perspective that you had for a long time. And see, that perspective has left you caged in your mind, not feeling like you have any other options. You know, it's definitely hard because these are burdens on your mind that go with you everywhere that you go. There we go with that World card right there. Now the World card is also Capricorn energy. So it's a lot of fear of change, a lot of staying in the same routine of things. And something here Oh my goodness. Something here that this Three of Swords lands on. There's some kind of truth that hasn't been revealed. There was some kind of truth that, oh, how do I put it? It was put to the side when it came to letting certain people go, or maybe letting a certain situation go, maybe letting a certain place go. Whoever it was, whatever it was, they were very, very immature. They were very headstrong in the sense that they were stubborn. They were naive. They were arrogant in the ways that they did things. They were very erratic with their behavior, whether it was a person, place, or thing. And with the place, it wasn't a good, stable environment. There was a lot of up and down, a lot of roller coaster rides, a lot of uncertainty. Maybe even you could have had trouble with money here, with your finances, when dealing with this person, place, and or thing. And it really knocked off your stability, and it really felt like things were out of control with whoever, whatever this was. Person, place, and or thing. Whatever it was, it never changed to where you could fully invest in it. There was always some kind of block. I feel like there was always some kind of block in the middle. There was always, I don't know if there was a middleman, but there were always things. I'm hearing behavior. It was the behavior that was the block for whatever this was. And that's what made you feel like so much was out of control with this specific situation. So, I mean, the biggest thing to combat the double energy, to combat that fear of change energy, is to hit this with a different type of energy. And that's that nurturing energy. That's that letting go of the pain. Because you've invested into the pain a lot. You've replayed the pain a lot. That's a part of what makes you hang on to this situation, hang on to the memories, is because of the pain there. Now, when it comes to healing, a lot of times we have to be our hype people. We have to really discover who we are. And that means going into the deeper layers of self-love here. So whatever this dishonesty was, that was the final breaking point. Like, it had to be something that really affected your heart. And if you look at this heart here, this heart has had more than these 3 wounds on it. If you can see, this heart has many wounds on it. But finally something did it. The feather that broke the camel's back type of thing here. And I feel like, that's where you took the action. You took the action and you said, I had to go. I had to do something. This isn't my place here. But you still held on to the pain. You also think a lot about the mind games here. I don't know if you're upset that now that you're older, you can see some of the games, or maybe you're upset because you should have did something a little bit different when it came to those mind games. Maybe now you see you should have reacted a little different. Maybe you think, oh, I should have took my time here. But this situation was wounding you many, many a times. Not just in your mind, but also in your heart, like how you really felt, like even like the vulnerabilities that you had here. And I'm hearing to say that specifically the vulnerabilities here. Whoever, whatever it was, they weren't playing nice. That's what I can tell you right now. They just weren't playing nice with you. Oh my goodness gracious. That's hard. That is hard, especially when you care for something so much, Leo. You're all about the self-sacrifice, Leo. You will put up with so much and you will sacrifice for others. You're like the next one up right after the Cancer and the Capricorn when it comes to loyalty and how much you will sacrifice for others as well. So, but there is something here that you couldn't do it anymore, but now you still sacrifice your mind to this situation, even though it could be so many years later. All right, so let's go ahead and call in our angels of protection. Angels of protection, please help, guide, and protect us as we navigate the block here for the Leo community. You know, I keep thinking of that movie, Little Big Man. That's an old school movie, you know, and just like what the grandfather would say, instead of just saying what the grandfather would say, excuse me, I would change it up a little bit and just say, you know what, it's a good day to have a new day. If you ever seen that movie, Little Big Man, truly a classic. I like that one a lot. It's a good comedy. It's an old school movie. But yes, the grandfather has a certain quote that he would always say. And I would change it up and just say, you know what? It's a good day to have a new day for you, Leo. So now that we're in your block, something. We have a lot of things going on here, Leo. You know, first and foremost, it's okay to acknowledge what has happened in the past. It's okay to acknowledge that you were working really hard for something that didn't work out. Something that, in a lot of ways, you weren't meant to control. And it wasn't the right investment for you because it didn't bring you stability. And that's okay. In that situation, you got very over dominating in. You could have been trying to go tit for tat with them for a little bit. That's what I'm getting with this Emperor inside position. And it was because you were frustrated. You were frustrated with how everything was working out and that things weren't being built the way that you wanted them to be built. All this person did was bring a lot of confusion, bring a lot of conflict, you know, and you really didn't feel like in the long run you could trust them. You know, you wanted to have this investment. You wanted to bring this home. You wanted to make this place a home. You wanted to build. You wanted to provide. That's what it was. But no matter how much you tried to do that, things were always blocked by this other person's behavior or the instability of this place. And you know, you really, really tried. You tried to show this person your level of love, your level of charisma, this place, your level of love, or your level of charisma for the things that you were working for whatever, that you were building here. You know, you really felt like you were following the guidance, a higher guidance here. You were trying to do things in the best light that you could, or you're trying to do your best in the light of things, I should say. But the mental games, I feel like the mental games was your unraveling here, and that's what started it. I feel like that's how the fuse got lit on this situation. And I feel like, again, that's where you're hard on yourself with this Knight of Swords at the very end of this. You know, you started to become, I don't want to say arrogant, but there was something that happened. There's definitely things that happened, and it started to morph your mind and how you go about things, how you think about things. But it was morphing your mind in a very negative way. I know I've talked about with the Leo community before, where you had influences that would trigger you into wanting to go tit for tat, or even doing kind of like revengeful things, you know, trying to show somebody how it feels when what they done to you is done on to them. And I feel like that was the very thing that kind of kept you linked up with this energy for a while. And that's what started to take you down. And I feel like here, a part of that is the heavy reflection that was going on. You might even be telling yourself, you know, if I wouldn't have reacted like this, if I would have did this instead, then things could have worked out totally different from then until now. And I could have the things that I expected to have right now in this day and time. I know I'm being very vague, but I'm trying to leave it to each person's interpretation, because this could have to do with family. This could have to do with somebody who's been very dedicated and building up their career from a younger age until now. This has to do with the community kind of sense thing here. The whole thing is Leo, in your block here is you're running so many scenarios, you're running so many situations because you're still stuck in that mental prison from back then. And you're trying to anticipate you making a different choice, and that would have changed the whole trajectory of everything. Oh, Leo, that's a lot. That is a lot to put on your shoulders. That is a lot to feel like you are responsible for. Oh my goodness. And that's very, very heavy. After all these years, that load has enlightened. It's only gotten heavier. But what I'm seeing here is no matter what choice you would have made, whatever this situation is, person, place, and or thing, it wouldn't have changed. It wouldn't have done anything different. It still would have did things the same way. Instead, it would have just dragged out probably for a little bit longer with you. And it probably would have took you down a farther, darker hole to where you wouldn't have been able to make it out. Think about that, because I know a few stories back we were talking about different choices the Leo made, and Leo had two choices, and the Leo chose the best choice they could at that time. There's a reason why you made the choices that you made. You have to remember that it is not wrong to care about yourself, to care about your future. It's not wrong to go to things that are more stable. That's not wrong. And I know we all go back and we want to say, well, I wish I could have, would have did this and things would have changed. That's not a guarantee. That's you just keeping your energy linked to this situation, which is depleting you now in the present. And what do I mean by that is because you're over focused here, you can't fully live in the present. And then you don't like to look at your future, because then with your future ahead, it brings on anxieties about how much far that past is, because you're still worried about the choices you made in the past. This is why it's important to practice mindfulness, so that you could be fully present here in the now with the ones that are around you. You know, seeing the fruitations of your labor, how that you made choices not to sacrifice others for your cause, but you made choices to have stability, to have a certain type of love around you as well. And that's okay, because here I don't see Leo trying to do bad things. I see Leo was following guidance. That's what I see. And I see a Leo who's seen how dealing with this situation was changing them in a negative way. Do you know how hard that is? Come on. Think about all the friends, co-workers, family members that you know who notice when something starts to change them for the bad. Now think about how many of those members, once they recognized it, family members, friends, co-workers, whoever, once they recognized it, how many of them were actually able to change things for themselves, and how many went further down that dark rabbit hole and letting the whatever it is undo them? It's hard. It is hard to make choices for ourselves to get us out of sticky situations. It is really hard, and sometimes we look back with regret. Sometimes we look back and we feel like we were greedy. Sometimes we start to resent ourselves for trying to take care of ourselves and making the best choices that we could. And see, that's what has you still anchored again to this past. It's time to bring more of a nurturing energy. It's time to love on yourself for being able to recognize how this was changing you in a negative way. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and call in our divine and universal energy. What are the final positive messages that need to come out? Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Don't forget to thank your ancestors, your spirit guides, our angels of protection. Don't forget to thank divine and universal energy, because what have I been speaking about here? First card I see that I'm going, oh wow, about is grief work. Something that you're at odds ends with. Grief work. Get some rest. And relationship dynamic. All of these come out in reverse. All of these you're at odds ends with. These are things that you can use to help you see that it's okay. It's okay to move forward. It's okay to, put this down and get some rest from this situation. It's okay to change the dynamics of how you feel about things, how you look about things with these past relationships. It's time to let yourself have rest from this situation. And it's time. I mean, if you have to have a good cry to cleanse out, do it. A lot of times when we journal or even when we let ourselves cry, it can be very cleansing, because everything that we've been shoving down, we're able to let come up, and we're able to let it process as it comes up. And then once it's done and over, you feel a little bit better. And I feel like being able to let it out and doing this grief work is you're gonna lessen this load a little bit, instead of shoving everything to the back and trying not to think about it, even though it keeps coming up. We're gonna give ourselves permission to work through it, Leo. This is beautiful, because I seen this when I was cleansing your cards. Healing from the past. Look at that. With confidence, with discipline, with joy, with motivation, with personal power here. Feeling that you have the right to move forward, move on. And you know what could help is bringing on a little health change. Maybe getting a little hobby, doing something that helps. Maybe something that helps inspire you. Maybe something that you've seen signs to start doing again. I was just recently talking with a gentleman. This was a Sagittarius, or was he Scorpio? It was one of the two. And we'll take a quick detour. He was talking to me about his body, the different pains in his body and stuff like that, and how he was not really doing any of his hobbies anymore. And once I kind of got to fill out his vibe, I asked him about a specific hobby. I was like, were you ever a runner, just because of his build and stuff? And he's like, I used to love to run. I used to do it. I haven't done it in years. And I told him, getting back into the hobby, if everything's good to go, I go, it's going to give you a place of peace. That go, remember when you would go on your runs, that you would have time and space to kind of process things, to work out things that you're frustrated about, but you also had a break from all your stressors in a sense at that point, your responsibilities, because right then and there you were focused on your hobby, and that was their run. And this is why I mentioned getting some kind of hobby, some kind of new health hobby. It doesn't have to be jogging. Maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's picking up some weights. Maybe it's taking a dive into the kitchen on doing some new healthy recipes. You know, maybe it's going to yoga. Yoga is very wonderful because it helps us become conscious of how we carry tension in certain areas of our body. And it teaches us how to redirect our focus, especially into the moment of now. So that's something else. What it is we want you to get a hobby or do something that helps redirect your focus, that helps you pull your energy back from this past situation that you hold a lot of resentment for, that you're in this mental prison about, and basically take a break from that and do something that you enjoy. Do something that helps take care of you, type of energy. And retirement. Retirement lands on the Emperor and these Lovers card. It is honestly time to retire. I know the mind has been very over-dominating, especially when it comes to reflecting in what you were once building and how that was so much out of your control. It's time to retire it. It's time to bring change, and that change is healing the past, finding something for you that you enjoy, a new hobby maybe something that you've been seeing a lot of different signs for to do, to help get this jump start to going, because you followed your guidance before at one time. So that tells me that you're very intuitive. So keep following that guidance to help unblock yourself from this mental prison that you've been bound to for many years. It's okay to go in and reassess the things that we've been attached to when it comes to us feeling like we didn't show up our best. Maybe it feels like that we failed at things. That's okay, because we're going to do the grief work. You made the best choices that you could do, and that's okay. Realizing that and saying, you know what, it's okay to let go. We don't have to keep holding on to things that are taking away from us, especially when it comes to being in a mental prison about past things. Loving ourselves, nurturing ourselves, taking care of ourselves is something that's really, really gonna help us. Taking a break from this mental prison of the past. And, along with that grief work, we're going to change up our view on the relationships dynamics, what was happening here. Because you know what? A part of that mental prison is the confusion that we still think about. That confusion of us always wondering if we could have provided more, if we could have did more for them, opposed to just putting down the conflicts. Just remember, you were using your willpower, Leo, to the best of your abilities, and the choices you were making were for stability, were for prosperity, for your future. And that's okay. It is okay, because it's time to take action. And it's time to flip the script of this past and take a different view when it comes to what we are learning from this past. Sometimes it takes us going through different phases of our lives, because we learn different things at different phases for us to be ready to let go of things. You are in a place where you have learned a lot, Leo. How can we take that knowledge and how can we apply it to this past situation on getting ourselves out of this mental prison? Now, I've done this before for Capricorn, and I'm being told to do this for you, Leo. So before I let y'all go, think about this. When you're doing your grief work, and this is just metaphorically, okay, but if this was your child, if this was your best friend, if this was somebody that you were really close to going through this past situation, what would you have told them? Would you have told them to make those different choices? Or would you told them to get the hell out of Dodge and go somewhere where it's more stable? Think about it from that direction, because when I look at the cards here, I honestly would have told somebody, get out of Dodge. This ain't gonna work. This is not gonna work. No matter what you do, it's not gonna work. Unless the only way it's gonna work is if you go down to their level. And they're gonna sink you further down with them. So there's a little food for thought on that one when you're doing your grief work and you're trying to see things from a higher view. All right, Leo, this is going to conclude it. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, and your patience. And don't forget to thank your angels, ancestors, spirit guides, as well as divine and universal energy for coming on in and helping out. And as always, I hope that you have a most wonderful rest of your day.